What were some of those mistakes you made in the early days of Buffini Company when you were trying to build and scale and create these systems and get people to do things the way you wanted it done?
I actually wrote a book. I actually should give people a link to. I actually give it away now. It's called Taking Care of Business, and in the intro to the book, I list the 10 biggest clangers I ever made in business.
Clangers, I love that.
Well, because here's the thing: everybody writes a book, and rags to riches, the guy that never put a foot wrong. And I went, here's my top 10 worst decisions I made in business. And I wanted to lead off that way because, first of all, that failure's not final. Every entrepreneur has swung and missed. I mean, if you haven't missed as an entrepreneur, you're not an entrepreneur. You're an employee. Okay, if you are an entrepreneur who's never tried a product that didn't bomb, that hired somebody that didn't work out, that had a season where maybe you had to write a personal check to make payroll, I mean, those are the badges of honor of being an entrepreneur. And so, for me, the key is to learn from those things one time. Learn from those things one time. I'll go through the 10 as best I have, right? So I wrote, one of the things I said in the book is I bought a company that had a product that said it sold itself. Well, it turned out no product sells itself, and I learned that one the hard way. I started a business one time where I just hired family and friends. That didn't work out so good. I've started businesses where I didn't have all the finances in place to get the ball rolling, and I'm going to fund it as we go. You make these mistakes, you go through it, and then you go, okay, never doing that again. Never doing that again. And here's what I'm going to do differently. So if this would encourage people, I was at a board meeting. What happens is, and Dave and I have chuckle about this all the time, because Dave and I always, when we have dinner, will say, when we were broke, no one wanted to talk to us. You know what I mean? And we both felt we were just as wise when we were broke as we are now.
Same person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you get, when you make a lot of money, you do well over an extended period of time, you get invited to be on a lot of boards and a lot of charities and meaningful organizations and so on and so forth. So I was at a board meeting about a year ago, and there were billionaires and millionaires. It's a veritable who's who in San Diego business. And the chairman of the board is one of the most respected business leaders in the world. So there's a guy sitting at the end of the table, and finally it's almost like he just confesses to the group. He said, I got to be honest with you. I just don't belong here. I just don't belong here. He goes, I really haven't talked about, but I had a business a couple of years ago. It was just a giant failure. And he says, I'm at this board meeting, and all you guys are super successful, and I just feel like I'm a phony. And the guy at the end of the table, who's the billionaire, who's in his late 70s, is a genius guy, just starts laughing. And this guy there was a moment of uncomfortableness because I think this guy felt he was being mocked. And he says to him, I won't say his name, but he goes, so-and-so, just so you know, we've all been there. We've all been there. There's nobody at this table without it. And he goes one by one, and he asks every person at the board meeting to tell their biggest business failure. And we all had a lot to choose from. And this guy is sitting, and he goes, we've all been there. This is the badge of honor. This is what it means. It's like I say, Churchill said, go from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. That's what an entrepreneur is. Now, the goal is you don't want to be fatal mistakes. You don't want to make the same mistake twice. And you don't have to go it alone. Get all the advice, get the input. But, you have to do that. And everybody makes mistakes, and everybody makes decisions that weren't great decisions. And it's part of it. And so, that was a great example. That was a hugely successful board where it was a board of people who'd all had their chapters of failure, but books of success. And I think for anyone listening, I hope it encourages that. That's why I know when people come to like the EntreLeadership event, they get to network and brainstorm with other small business owners. Like, it's one of the best things that happens. Because you find out, this guy and this gal, they put their pants on like I do. And this
I'm not alone.
I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. And, by the way, what they usually find out, I'm actually on the way to being more successful than I realized. I'm actually in the midst of a success path that just doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.